It's time, episode 89, the ATM podcast. Mark Watson, international broadcaster, commentator, contributor, Martin Devlin from the platform. We're talking about the AB squad, the Blues, the Wars, the Sky TV coverage of that Super Rugby final, Euros if we want to.
Apologise to me!
Watto, welcome, and let's talk about your Blues, mate, because all year we've had the doubts about whether this team could actually go the one step further that they haven't been able to. And I put and give a lot of the credit to Vern Cotter, who's come in from, coaching in the Northern Hemisphere. He hasn't had that carpet ride that a lot of former All Blacks get in New Zealand coaching. He's earned the right to be this coach, and more than that. And he's changed the way the team has played and got them to be a lot more pragmatic, go away from the frilly-nillies kind of throw the ball everywhere style, and he's actually created a champion team. So, they're worthy winners, are they not?
Yeah, 100%. And I think you hit the nail on the head. I mean, I think so much of the success needs to go to Vern Cotter. And just to your other point, I think it just demonstrates too that maybe we elevate our former All Blacks to coaching roles far too quickly. And I think what Vern Cotter's shown us is maybe just some of the deficiencies that Leon McDonald maybe had as a coach. And I also wonder whether if you're going to get a top coach, get one that's, a little bit more forward orientated that may have played in that position or is a bit more of a specialist when it comes to developing forwards. Look, a really simple game plan, isn't it? For all the evolution we've seen in rugby, Vern Cotter's just taking it back to the basics, win the breakdown, win the battle up front, earn the right to go wide, and you're probably going to win the game. And we just saw this incredible intensity. Players who I just didn't rate. I never rated Offa Tuangavasi. I never thought he was good enough to be an All Black. What a stunning season he's had. He's changed my opinion completely. We see, Hoskins Satutu, who was, a little bit, great in sort of against opposition that wasn't particularly that strong. Great when there was a lot of open running play, but you always wondered whether he had the mettle when, up against a good quality, tough opposition. And I'm not sure that he did. And I think you could say the same about Akira Rawani. But certainly under Vern Cotter, both those players just simply magnificent. And isn't it just a terrible shame that the great enigma of New Zealand rugby, Akira Rawani, finally shows what he's truly capable of, shows us that Zinzan Brook type quality, only for him to be heading off to Japan. I think, there's a bit of irony in that. But also, you go and have a look at a player like AJ Lamb, a bit of a utility type player. How good did he look at second 5'8"? And then knowing that you've got Bryce Heem coming off the bench. Harry Plummer, not the, doesn't have the brand. He's not the cover of Women's Day that perhaps you get with Damien McKenzie or those, Carter and those players that have gone before. But now, genuinely, you could say he's a genuine world-class number 10. And I think that's just been the most pleasing thing. How good has Vern Cotter been? But it also just shows that, if you want to be a great coach, you've got to actually pay your dues. I mean, Cotter's done brilliant things with Scotland, brilliant things with Fiji. He was brilliant, very successful with club rugby in France. Was part of the Bay of Plenty set up 20 years ago when they took the Ranfurly Shield off Auckland. And so, I think greater emphasis in this country needs to go on coaching. We need to spend more time on it. We're happy to let a lot of our intellectual property go overseas, which is fine, but have a plan long-term to try and bring them back to New Zealand. We owe it to the players. We owe it to New Zealand rugby. And I just get sick and tired of just former All Blacks getting elevated into these top jobs too quickly because they were All Blacks. Just because you're a great rugby player doesn't necessarily mean that you are a great rugby coach. I also just want to congratulate, I know we've been pretty tough, and we were pretty tough on it last week on the referees, but I thought Nick Berry was superb. I thought all the officiating on Saturday night was brilliant. Not just because the Blues won, I thought the communication on the field was excellent. And I don't think, we certainly weren't talking about the referee the next day. So, credit where credit's due.
Also, let's make mention before we move on from this of Sky's coverage, because again, we were very critical of last week of the semi-finals and the constant intrusions from the sideline, which were incredibly annoying. The gender equality split that Sky insists on. Well, you had an all-male, commentary crew for that final on Saturday night, and I'm not sure anyone minded. I know that, if we dig deep enough, there probably is a few out there in Alice Soper land. But in terms of the quality of the presentation of what they gave us, I thought it was great. And having Jeff Wilson on the sideline, again, just to me improves things. Look, it's a very simple thing as a sports fan. We just want the best people doing it. We keep saying this every week, and also if they're qualified, it does help. But let's just remember, probably the best sideline we've ever had at rugby is a guy called Ian Smith, who played cricket, as far as his sport goes. So it's just people who've got a good understanding, who understand the broadcasting, who've learned when to shut up, when to interject, what to say, not to waffle, all of these kind of things. And so I thought that, again, it added to it, and it enhanced the quality of the whole experience. And that's the point. Mark, every time that any of these people in their privileged jobs get out there and get paid to do a live sport presentation like that, to me, the bar has got to be set at world class. You want to be matching the best in baseball, the NFL, the Premier League, all of these things. And if you're not up to that, if you don't believe that that's what your job is or to what it is to aspire to, well, get out of the way and let somebody else do it. You're not just there to earn your money. You're not just there because all of a sudden you met the selection criteria because you were this or you were that or you were, and so it's a really simple recipe, Sky. You got it right. Please continue to do that throughout the year.
Yeah, they didn't get it right, though, with the pre-game and the post-game. I think still a little bit of tokenism there. Still think a bit of too much gender equity. But I'm with you. If you want a model, just go and have a look at the success of the era. Look at the way the Australians do things. Just all male panels, people that know what they're talking about, legends of the game, not afraid to debate, not afraid to ask the hard and discuss all those maybe sort of contentious issues. And we've still got a lot to do in terms of the pre-game, post-game.
Well, I didn't watch it. You see, that's the point, and that's the whole point.
Exactly right.
To me, it's just that is the mute button. There's nothing that I glean or learn or anything from it. That's where the tokenism is incredibly frustrating. It was a couple of weeks ago when that intruded into the game itself that really upset me, because I have not watched or listened to that pre-game, post-game stuff for so long now. It's just annoying, so my game starts at kickoff and ends at ref's whistle.
Yeah, look, it's interesting. I was sitting down at a group that I drink coffee with most mornings out at Muriwai, and different people. In fact, somebody yesterday said it to me too. And I didn't even mention it, didn't even bring it up. I don't think they're even aware of the discussion we had last week, just saying, I just switch on the TV and I've got these two women talking to me and I just switch off. And that was the general consensus, mate. Now, you can sit there and go, they're just chauvinists, they're pigs. And actually, if you know these people, they're not. They're just rugby purists, mate, who just want quality television. And they can see through the BS. They know that these people are there because it's a box-ticking exercise. These people are there because of some sort of agenda. They're not there based on merit. They're not there to enhance it. They're not there to tell us anything different. They're just too damn scared of having some article written by Dana Johansson about the degree of sexism that potentially exists within Sky TV or some other nonsense. No one ever complains, do they, that we don't see any sort of male commentators and stuff doing the netball. I mean, Sky present the netball well. Their female commentators, sideline commentators are excellent. Good luck with it. But just start understanding and listening to the fan and stop shoving this stuff down our throat. And you're right, mate. I mean, I just watch the game. I'm not interested in the post-match. I'm not interested in the pre-match, because they're not going to tell me anything that's going to be of that's going to sort of enlighten me.
I thought some of what we saw in the dressing room and that afterwards was excellent, and good on the Blues for inviting the media in there. You don't have to do it every single time, but for an occasion like that, when all the celebrations going on, it gives you a really good insight, and I think, hopefully people have enjoyed that as well.
Apologise to me!
Let's talk about the Warriors now, because there's a couple of aspects to this. I've been given some information over the last few days, mate, that Sean Johnson won't be seeing the season out, and there's a damn good chance Adam Whanu-Blake's exactly the same. He won't be seeing the season out either. Sean's injured. His form has completely dropped off, and how he gets back into that team, goodness only knows. But at this stage, even recovering from the injury is going to be difficult enough before the end of the season. As far as Whanu-Blake goes, everything that you've heard about the disruptive influence that he is, and the source that told me couldn't be more highly placed, mate. And so, we've heard all these rumours, and it's a bit of a Roy Keane situation at Man United, who, brilliant captain, won 7 titles in 9 years, but ended up becoming toxic to the environment. And you can't have a player like that there. The best thing that the Warriors could do is let this guy go now. Get rid of him right now.
100% agree, mate. Gone. Can't be bothered even when, at the start of the season. I don't know why people go out of their way to try and keep players in the team who clearly don't want to be here. And for whatever rationale they present, whether it be for family reasons, whether it be for greed, just get rid of them. I say that with the New Zealand cricket team. I see that with the All Blacks. If you're not 100% into playing for that jersey, that crest, and for the fans, I don't want to know about you. If it's other motivating factors that are keeping you there, well, you're never going to get the best out of them on the field. But look, I also think Webster here, he's gone down a couple of points in my, I sort of held him in pretty high regard like most people. But, I said a couple of weeks ago prior to the Melbourne Storm game, we learned a lot about Andrew Webster when the team was named. And, we'd had some success by finding the formula at default by having tiiiiime Martin at 7 and Chanel Harris-Davida playing at 6 and Kolstad back at fullback. And, it just seemed to work. And we should stick with it. But no, Shaun Johnson comes back and put him straight back in, and the attack's just not the same. That combination's not quite right, is it? With tiiiiime Martin, just looks a little bit out of sorts. Then we go and put Roger Tuivasa back at centre, and everyone knows if you're going to play this guy, you've got to play him at fullback. There's no point playing him anywhere else. But and then we end up, I think it was the worst performance in the history of the club. I genuinely do, going back to 30 odd years now, because, you look at the season we had last year, look at the hype around this team, you look at how the front office have got everything sorted out, the fan base, the engagement. Webster, picked up Dally M Coach of the Year last year. And then suddenly we end up getting thumped by 60 odd points. I mean, it was just gutless, absolutely gutless. And Webster now needs to just stand up and show some balls. As I said last week, we need a coach, not a friend to the players. And whether Shaun Johnson's injured or not, Shaun Johnson should be dropped. Everyone talks about him being a great player. I've never rated him as a great player. He had a great season last year and proved me wrong, but he's reverted to type this year. Great players get the best out of other players around them. Could you imagine Andrew Johns sitting there going, hey, he wouldn't accept what he was seeing on Saturday, and they would not want to let him down on the park, would they? They'd be looking across at Johns and going, no, we don't want to let him down. And you can say that about a lot of the great Australian players, but I think, they just look at, I just don't think Shaun, he's not a guy that people want to play for. Unfortunately, I'm just not sure it is. He's just a little bit flawed. You can't blame that performance completely on Shaun Johnson. I think Webster's right in terms of the forwards, and maybe that's where Aden Whenua-Blake does need to go. But Webster should be able to identify this. I think the season's gone, mate. I just can't see us coming back now. And I blame Webster for it to a degree too, because he just hasn't been able to swallow his pride and admit that perhaps
part
some
of the problem,
statements he made.
That surrounds the Warriors is that it's almost all of their own making. The positivity, the mass media coverage, the constant social media, and all of this has created this bubble around where people are afraid to actually start really looking inside at what is going on, telling the truth, and this whole narrative about, it's just a rocket ride, it's bigger than rugby, it's all of these things, and there's no one that's